our last episode, we had a look at one of the cornerstones in gaming history. Another World, a fun, beautiful, cinematic platformer that revolutionized the platformer genre with seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes, as well as beautiful polygon animations. The game was created by Eric Shahi and was influenced by everything Shahi liked at the time. A dream come true, so to say. I'm Dr. Sledgehammer, by the way, and today I want to have a look at a cyberpunk classic that was developed by Paul Cuisset, a game that has striking similarities with Another World, the game from our previous episode, a game that would go on to become the best-selling French game in history, a game that goes by the name Flashback. Now, Shahi and Cuisset previously worked together on the critically acclaimed Future Wars from 1989, so there's already a connection right there. Both games have similar-looking main protagonists and both use strikingly similar cutscene transitions, which is understandable seeing as how both games were developed for the same company. It's obvious that ideas from Another World were implemented here. The game would prove to be a far more ambitious project than Another World ever was, containing 7 different stages with seamless transitions, RPG elements, and a game difficulty that would crush your testicles. Unless you are a woman, of course. I guess in that case you don't have any testicles that can be crushed to begin with. Our story begins somewhere in a galaxy far, far away. Our protagonist seems to be pursued by a couple of assailants that want to catch him because he discovered that he's being ruled by a bunch of lizard people.
I've got the fire of human liberty. I'm setting fires everywhere. This is a human. This is what we look like.
As we fly over the jungle, a cannon hits us with one of its projectiles, forcing us to crash into the jungle. Okay, the first order of business is we have to go and look for whatever that was. And there we go, just gotta select it from my items menu and... seems to be some sort of recording. The cubicle item turns out to be a message that you pre-recorded for yourself, except you do not remember ever recording it. Essentially, it says that you have to visit some dude named Ian that lives in New Washington City. Apparently he has some information for you. So do I have amnesia or something? If so, then how the heck am I supposed to know how to get to New Washington? And who the heck is Ian? You are also reminded that you should take care of yourself, because this is also his body. Now, where have I heard that line before?
Careful, it's my head too.
Ah, that's right. Total recall. Now, come to think of it, Conrad's attire is quite similar to what Arnold Schwarzenegger was wearing in Last Action Hero. And in the Amiga version from 1992, Conrad was wearing a white shirt. In the Super Nintendo version from a year later that came out after the movie, the shirt suddenly turned red. Now, in the cutscenes, the shirt is still white, as if the game was rushed out or something. Coincidence? Probably. I mean, I guess I just want to believe that the developers like Arnold as much as I do and made him look like that on purpose. Now what do we have here? Can I make this jump? Yeah, one thing that is really frustrating about the game is that it contains a lot of instant death situations. I mean, I have a shield that allows me to take up to 5 hits. It's not much, but I can recharge it and I'm good to go again, but instant deaths suck. What makes them unbearable is that checkpoints are rare and there's so much stuff that can kill you before you make it to one of them. The thing that is gonna fuck you up the most are the controls. I mean, they're quite innovative and responsive when you learn how to play the game, but the learning curve is fucking steep, man. You're gonna die like 53 times before you make it to the first checkpoint. You press up on the D-pad, you jump upwards. You press the run and up buttons, you jump sideways. You wanna jump a larger distance? You run and then press up, but your character has a delayed reaction so that you have to click up a little bit sooner or you fall to your death. Now here's a quiz, how do I make this jump over here? I mean, doing a long jump doesn't seem to work, so take a wild guess. Now I have played this game for like forever until I realized how easy and stupid this is. You run in the direction of the cliff and you take your finger off the D-pad and your character will automatically jump. I feel like a fucking idiot, but have you ever heard of a game in which you jump like that? Now I know, this version of the game does have a lot of tutorials that I can read, but trust me, you're gonna be overwhelmed with the controls at the beginning of the game. Take the shooting mechanism for example. Instead of having a button that fires the gun directly, I have to draw my gun first and then I can use it. Also, Conrad's moving patterns completely change, kinda like in the Prince of Persia games. Everything you do kinda feels delayed. Now you might be thinking that I hate the game because I keep bitching about the controls, but that cannot be further from the truth. Once you get used to the controls, everything becomes fucking awesome. Just think of it this way, you have a certain movement rule set that you have to get used to. Once you do, everything is incredibly fun. Dude, you want me to do what now? Jump in a hole in which probably every monkey in the jungle takes a shit? And I'm somehow gonna make it to New Washington City? How will that work? Okay, I get a belt. How will this get me to New Washington? Well, fuck it, let's try it.
I'm a human, and I'm coming!
This game makes no sense. We somehow made it to New Washington, and we're in some sort of canal system and have to make it upwards. At the top of the canal system we reach Ian's apartment, and we made it just in time apparently to save him from two cops who broke into his apartment. If you think about it, we jumped into a random shithole in the jungle, and not only did we make it to New Washington, we also made it to Ian's apartment. Now, Ian has an apparatus that will help Conrad recover his memory, and as it is right now, the plot seems to be a mixture of the movies They Live starring Roddy Piper and Total Recall. Basically, you discover the scouter that doesn't show you power levels but shows you that lizard people live among the population.
I'm telling you, folks, I look out at the crowds, I see the people, they are possessed by something. Damn to hell! These people are not frickin' humans, okay? It's a spirit of evil! You will fall!
I don't blame the public not wanting to believe it.
You piece of shit!
All those memories just erased!
I will eat your ass!
I don't get it. I mean, they could just plaster his brains on the pavement. After all, it's the government we're talking about here. Anyway, Conrad decides that he wants to go to Earth, but needs a lot of money to do that. Ian suggests that Conrad participates in a TV show called Death Tower to win a free trip to Earth, which is basically The Running Man, a book written by Stephen King that was made into a movie that was also starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. To make it through customs on Earth, you need a fake ID that you get from a contact that is waiting for you outside a bar. Your contact demands you pay him a large amount of money for the fake ID, prompting you to get documents and apply for odd jobs around New Washington. At this point, you're basically playing an RPG in which you can safely walk around the city. As the game progresses, you will get new items like this neat new teleporter over here. How does it work? Well, you throw a receiver in a certain direction, use the teleporter, and there you go. This actually makes this platformer 10 times more interesting, as you have much more tools to solve problems. And here we have another interesting item. Remember the shield in Another World that blocks bullets? Here we have something similar but more difficult to use. You have to kinda read the body language of your opponents to know when to apply it, because it only works for a fraction of a second. There are firefights you cannot win without it, so better get used to it. In the final stage, you get to travel to outer space to fight aliens. If the game has one flaw, it is these overpowered shit-shifters. I seriously do not know how to deal with them. They take too many hits and they may damage you at a moment's notice. I swear I fight these fuckers on pure luck. This stage is insanely frustrating without the rewind function of the game. Speaking of the rewind function, when you start the game you can either play the Super Nintendo version released in 1993 or a version with updated graphics, updated music and tutorials that you get spam fucked with mercilessly throughout the first level of the game. Thanks for telling me how to move my character. I would have never learned that without you. And the rewind function that allows you to rewind a portion of the game after you die. Because the developers think that your parents made you soft and didn't teach you how to deal with hardships and consequences in life. Look, all jokes aside, the game is fucking brutal and you can get instantly killed at a moment's notice, and you're gonna have to replay 15 minutes of gameplay over and over and over and over again. So if you wanna enjoy the classic game but don't wanna waste 17.5 hours of your life constantly dying, then use the rewind function. Me, on the other hand, I have issues. I have serious issues, man. Look, at the end of the day, you can turn off any functions in the game and you can play it any way you like. As for the sounds and graphics, I actually prefer the 8-bit version because it sounds edgier, but both versions have their weaknesses. Take a listen for yourself. However, the new version has more sounds in general and makes the game feel much more alive. Quite similar to the Genisys version actually. All in all, I think this game is an absolute cyberpunk classic. The sound, the look, everything about this game has a unique character that easily stands the test of time. I'm gonna give the game a 9 out of 10. I liked Another World a little bit better than this one. I think it's a better game to be honest, but it's quite close between the two. Now the franchise has gone down a wild road ever since. A direct sequel named Fade to Black came out on the PlayStation in 1995. Another sequel was in development for the Game Boy Advance in the early 2000s. However, as things often happen in the gaming industry, Cuisset's company Delphin Software International went bankrupt just before the release date. Now this is where things get interesting. Paul Cuisset actually had the rights for his own game and was working as a managing director at Vector Cell. Employees of the company were fans of the original game, so Cuisset decided to make a remake of the game. The game came out in 2013 and is probably worth a try if I ever see it on sale. Recently, a French company named Microids got their hands on the franchise and released the version I played for this review. They are also working on a sequel called Flashback 2 that is set to be released later this year. It is unclear if it is connected to the original sequel Fade to Black. Microids. Now where have I heard that name before? Microids! They're the ones that published Asterix and Obelix, slapped them all! A really flawed game that I paid a lot of money for. And wait a minute, didn't they also publish the hilariously bad 13 remake from a couple of years ago? Oh boy, folks, I'm crossing my fingers and hope for the best, but it's not looking good right now. Not at all. Yeah, anyway, I was Dr. Sledgehammer, and I'll see you guys on the next Sledgehammer review. Bye.
Love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
Bye. Love you.